Hello, everyone. We are back for another episode of Bluecast, your podcast, your weekly podcast to speak about technology, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship. Our today's guest is a very special guest, which is somebody new in our company, and I'm very excited to listen about all of the challenges that we are going to face together. And I'm here to introduce to you Varun Thakur. Please introduce yourself.
Gabriel, firstly, thank you for having me here. And it's been a little over 2 months since I've joined Blue BMS from the Marbella office in Spain. And it's also my first time in Sao Paulo in Brazil, first time in Latin America, first time in South America. And very pleased to be here and having this conversation with you to discuss all things Blue BMS, my life, and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, we appreciate a lot that you're here because it's very important to see ourselves and get ourselves together face to face. Because whenever we exchange energy and we do everything that we've been doing for the past weeks, we can produce more and we can do greater things. And of course, you can get like an immersion in our culture because. One of the things that used to happen on Blue is that we have like two separate offices, and one of the challenges you're going to face ahead is to bring everything together.
Absolutely.
So, how was your welcome on the company?
Yeah. So, obviously, I've been signed up to be Global Marketing Director, CMO for the business. And the first mandate or the first thing that I've been signed up to do is obviously, as you said, bring this group together, right? Because right now we're operating as an EU business, as a Brazil business, as an Argentina office. And as we've discussed that the top level marketing function was not something that existed explicitly. It was managed by, Celso, yourself, Rodrigo, Jonas. And I think that to me is the first challenge, but at the same time, that challenge is an opportunity, right? Because this is, I look at Blue and BMS as a startup, and there is so much that is possible in here, and that's what really excites me. So I think the first thing that I'm looking at is unifying and ensuring that all the three offices speak the same language.
Amazing.
We follow the same systems. We approach problems with the same mindset, right? So I was, I've been here for almost 2 weeks now, and with the marketing team here, I've also set a tone of how we think, how we act, and how we deliver, right? Because I want everybody to be on the same page. So for example, if small things, the way we do events in Brazil is slightly different from the way we do events in Spain.
Yes.
Are there synergies, right? Are there things that we can align on so that there is less ambiguity? There's a better usage of systems, right? So I think the first thing, as I said, is unifying and creating this global brand for the business, but at the same time trickling that down into the culture of both of all the three divisions, three offices. So I think that's on a very high level. That's what I'm looking at, and how that translates to day-to-day functioning is pretty much, for me, coming from the Amazon AWS background, is putting systems in place, putting automation where possible, minimizing ambiguity, and relentlessly focusing on ROI in everything that we do. It's become almost like a laughing joke within the marketing team that this guy is very ROI driven, and I'm pretty certain that over time they will realize that this is really let's call it the golden holy grail of how marketing should be working.
And I think that's amazing. One thing that you spoke of is culture. And I really would like to focus on that because when it comes to your background, and I'm saying as a person and as a professional, I mean, you come from India, but you already lived in several other places. So you faced like several different cultures by living in those places. And I really would like to explore that better. So how could you explain to us how was that experience of living in so many different countries and so many different languages and so many different cultures? How was that on your life, and that brought you here?
So I think when I look back, I've been very fortunate that from a young age, thanks to my family business. So we, I started post graduation. I started working with my father in our family business, which is primarily into manufacturing and exporting plastics, home decor items, toys. And right from the time I was at university, I used to travel a lot with him to trade fairs in the East and in the West. And I think, that was my doorway to the world, right? So, of course, I was born and raised in Mumbai, in Bombay, in India. But from a young age, I kind of was very fascinated after my travels to different parts of the world. And I realized that there is so much to learn just by being around people from different cultures, right? And I think being the only child and the only son, and if you're in India, your fate is kind of sealed. So it was, for me, there was this standard career path that, you would graduate and then you would take up the family business, right? And that's precisely what I did. But somewhere down the line, I just realized that, I really want to give my life or myself a shot at traveling and living and working abroad on my own, right? Without the dependency of being at home. Because, of course, that's comfortable. That's great. But I've seen what is possible, and I just don't want to restrict myself to just being in Bombay and, continuing with the business.
May I make like one personal question at this point?
Yes,
like,
please.
was it a easy step to make, like to break up with your family business, and start traveling around and kind of leave your family and family business behind? Was it a good conversation with your father, for instance?
It was, personally, it was a very difficult ask from my side, because, there are always expectations, right?
Exactly.
If you're the only child, you're the only son, and you've been doing this thing for a while, and then, going up and asking that, hey, I really want to give myself a shot, So I give full credit to my parents for being super supportive and,
That's good.
saying that, go ahead, live your dreams. If you don't like, we're there for you.
That's amazing.
But take that chance. So it was a risk that I took, honestly. But I feel that, when I look back, obviously I wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, I mean, my journey started, I did my MBA in Hong Kong, a bit in China, then I was in London. Post my MBA, I got a wonderful opportunity to work with Amazon in their headquarters in Luxembourg. And then, it's been 10 years since then. So I've worked in the US for Amazon as well, worked in different departments in Amazon and AWS. So, there's this, going back to your original question around how does this travel really, acquaint you to the world and to people, I think it really humbled me in general. Because one conclusion that I came to is that no matter where you go, people are people, right? We are human beings at the end of the day. We pretty much have the same core desires, fears, likes, dislikes, wants. But the way we express it or the way we live it out varies from country to country, culture to culture. And it also depends on what level of life you're at, right? When you're young, you're automatically a little more driven. You want to explore life, the world, you want to experiment, you want to challenge yourself. And I guess as you get older, in some cases, you're just a little more at peace with yourself.
Yes.
You get a better understanding of yourself. So I've seen that, having worked with so many people, having traveled so much extensively. And I think that's my conclusion, that at the end of the day, our core desires are pretty much the same. They're just expressed differently based on where you are and at what stage of life you're at.
Exactly. I mean, depending on where you're raised, it's like you have like the local culture, and it kind of shape you on how you see the world.
Exactly.
So whenever we have like a slang here in Brazil, which is like breaking the bubble. So whenever you get out of the bubble you're raised in, you start seeing something different, facing something different, and then you realize that it doesn't matter where you came from. All of us, we just want to grow in life. We aspire maybe similar things, which is building up a stable family, getting a house. I mean, build comfort for yourself and for your family for the future, with a very good employment, of course. So it just varies, as you said, depending on where you're raised and how the culture applies that on yourself. It's gonna differ a little bit, but in the end, there are people, and we are here. And as much more as you travel and you start getting all of those things together, it's just about identifying those things and helping people out.
That's pretty much it. It's, I think I sometimes feel that a lot of what we are, let's say, a lot of the things that we do in life, it's conditioning, right? We get conditioned to behave a certain way, to do certain things. But at the core of it, this might sound weird, but we evolved from animals, right?
Yes.
Right? So I think at the end of the day, our base desires, needs, wants are pretty basic. It's just that the people and the environment that you surround yourself with, that kind of has a very deep impact on what you start wanting and expecting from life. And that can also be a great motivation to really achieve big things if that's what makes you happy. At the same time, it can be a big downer for you as well, because if your life doesn't pan out the way you want it to, it can really affect you negatively. So self being analytical or analyzing who you really are at the core, apart from what the world's trying to push at you, that for me is real golden, when you get a very strong understanding of who you are.
Exactly. And when you have a better understanding of yourself, you can express yourself better to the world, and you can help people out because you're confident about yourself. So whenever you know that you need to be good in order to help someone else. And then when you realize that, you start really helping people, because the first step you're going to take is to help people to reach that level of conscience that you got. And then you can really help them out, because they will feel themselves more comfortable, more confident, and they will start doing things and build better purposes.
100%.
That's a very deep thing that you said. Amazing. So when we try to explore more about everything that you've learned so far by traveling abroad, living abroad, and also putting that together with your professional experience, that, as you just said, that you worked for AWS in Luxembourg and in the US. And can you give us more details of what have you done at Amazon and all of those experiences? And one thing that I really want to know about in detail is because whenever we got to build BMS, we based ourselves in the AWS model of building things. So I really want to hear from you all of the experiences you had there and what have you brought to Blue and BMS.
Sure. So I started off in working at Amazon in Luxembourg in around 2014, and I joined as the European marketing manager for FBA, which is Fulfillment by Amazon. It's the core supply chain logistics arm of the business, which basically works with sellers and helps them inbound their inventory, and if an order is placed, then we as Amazon, we ship, pick, pack and ship the products to the customers. So my role was very digital marketing heavy. So I was working on all possible channels that you can think of to reach B2B and B2C customers. And I think that role really got me into the Amazon culture. I did that for about 1.5 to 2 years. And I think that's where the whole systems mentality and understanding how a big organization like Amazon really functions, because, you've got offices in, I don't know how many hundreds of countries in the world, but no matter where you go, the language people speak, the culture is just same,
Exactly.
So for me, that was a revelation at that point, that how is this thing working, right? So a lot to learn in terms of the skills, in terms of processes and systems, working with almost 100 plus nationalities, just being out of Luxembourg, because that's the European headquarters of the business. So I did that for about 1.5, 2 years. And my core background itself is very marketing and business. That's something that I genuinely enjoy. It's something that I'm passionate and I'm good at. So I'd rather, I just decided, and this was early on in my career, I knew that I would always be in marketing because it's something I completely resonate with. My next role, for which I was actually picked up within Amazon, because my previous performance in FBA was so good that there was a team that was being launched in Europe to launch the refurbished products across Europe, India, Japan. So back then, Amazon had a program for certified refurbished products, right? And because they wanted to roll this out globally, similar to Blue and BMS, they needed a global marketing guy. So I was that person who was made to launch this program globally. And honestly, it was the most difficult role ever. Like, even when I look back, because I literally had a blank sheet of paper and I had about 11 countries to launch, 10 countries to launch this program in. So, you're talking different languages, you're talking different systems, different laws in every country, different people to work with, manage a team of marketing managers, set up, literally launch every single marketing channel. It didn't exist. And, get the right messaging, because you're dealing with a beast,
Exactly.
Amazon is huge.
Yes.
So for me, it was very, obviously on one side, I can say that it was very difficult. But if you ask me now, I would say it was one of the most gratifying periods of my professional career, because the amount that I've learned in that period was, I cannot even compare it to anything.
And your role in that position, you get together the team, you have to design everything that it would do. I mean, did Amazon give you any kind of support on building things? Or
Yes.
I know that you have like the work background, the work backwards and all of those things.
Yeah.
Like, did you have to join a team and start building things backwards to get all the processes together and try to launch? And how was that part of the...
So it's actually hauntingly similar to what I'm doing here now at Blue and BMS, because we're also thinking of how do we rebrand this and trickle that down into a culture. So the original name for this brand within Amazon was called Certified Refurbished on Amazon, right? And then we realized that if we want to launch this globally, we cannot go ahead with this as a brand name. So I personally underwent a 6 to 8 month exercise where I created a new brand from scratch. So yes, I did use all the Amazon tools that you can think of, writing PR FAQs, working backwards, MBRs, QBRs, setting up a team, weekly tracking metrics, because we are very numbers heavy. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I did that role for almost 4 years. And in that time frame, we grew the business from just being live in the US to being live in 10 more markets. So 11 markets in total, including 5 in Europe, India, Japan, Mexico, Canada, Australia. Just activating channels. So the feather in my cap for that period was that we were not only able to scale that into one of the one of the fastest growing businesses within Amazon, but at the same time, my divisions or marketing's contribution to the entire GMS, which is gross merchandise sales of that business, was 22%, which was unheard of at that point, right? So I think that, that experience is something that I actually carry forward to this date. So even when I'm working now at Blue and BMS, I'm pretty much using learnings from everything that I did in that period now. So it was those 4 years which for me were very transformative in terms of my professional growth and learning.
And when you get like the main thing that Amazon has, which is the customer-centric thing, and you get into a company like Blue and BMS, which we have like a very strong technical background, and we're kind of understanding, mainly thinking on BMS, on how to take all of those tech things and bring it out to the market in the most significant and proper way.
Right.
How do you see that merging? I mean, all of the experience you had and the customer-centric focus, and apply all of that all of that background you have for Blue and BMS.
Absolutely. And it's a good time to bring up that topic, because I was just having a chat yesterday with the CTO, and it kind of fits into my story now. So after this role, I moved into AWS finally. This was around 2020 when COVID started. And my role there was to manage one of their training and certifications program across the EMEA region. Now, just a little background on AWS for the listeners, and how this also relates to BMS. So AWS was started within Amazon because they were using servers and cloud resources, and they realized that, hey, the same problem that we are facing as a company can potentially, is potentially being faced by other companies as well. And because Amazon is so beautifully organized in terms of systems, they built a product out of their cloud computing division, right? And they said, okay, let's maybe sell this to other businesses as well. And that was the birth of AWS, right? So it's something that they used internally, and they built it up so strongly that it became a standalone product in its own right. Now, when I look at Blue and BMS, right, and when I think of BMS as a product, I've seen the demo and I just absolutely love the product, right? It's built with the customer in mind. It's built with understanding what the problems of agencies individual businesses are, and putting all of those learnings into a seamless product so that you don't really have to look beyond it, right? So the same issues that, let's say, a company which is deploying servers has, right? That you have to invest a lot of money in maintaining physical servers. It's hard to update it. It's hard to scale it. You need manpower to manage it. Is pretty much exactly the issues that an agency would have, for example, on a marketing and advertising side, where technologies are changing so fast. The business's needs can evolve over a period of time. How do you manage your budget in a way so that it, you're scaling based on the requirements of the business, right?
Exactly.
So the core idea of AWS and BMS is pretty much the same. It's just that they're for two different verticals. This is for cloud computing. This is for advertising and marketing, right? So I'm seeing such parallels, and this is one of the reasons why I was drawn to the business per se, because I believe in the ideology. I believe in what problem we are trying to solve because I know it works. That's it.
Wow. I'm trying to digest all of those informations because they're very rich. I mean, you get everything together, you pack everything together, and we do have a very big platform, a very techy platform, and you brought making a parallel between problems that people would face with servers and agencies on scaling up their businesses, because we know that this is one of the most difficult things when it's related to an agency. Scale up things because you can have several different clients. You have to acquire more people in order to deliver that. So you have a physical techie problem and a physical people problem. So
Absolutely.
they're similar.
Yeah.
And when it comes to BMS, one of the greatest things that I think that BMS helps a lot is when it comes to save time, which is something that when you look over an agency and most of their people already operates several different platforms, they waste a lot of time building up all of those strategies and different platforms and different segmentations and stuff. And you can do all that inside just one platform that was designed to help you out on that sort of.
Absolutely.
So this is a very interesting thing you said. And one other question I want to make related to this is, how in your mind would you take this concept out to the market? Like you arrived, you saw everything that we have. How do you plan to take that and show it to people?
Absolutely. So, and this is where the whole customer centricity comes into the picture, right? So when I look at this product, I'm first trying to understand who our core users are, right? I'm trying to see who our power users are. What are their problems? So there are two ways you can build a product or a service, right? You can build it from a tech first perspective and then take it out to the market, or it's the other way around, where you understand what the market really needs and then build a tech product to sort of tackle that. I think with BMS, it's a little bit of both, right? It's a very innovative product or service, let's call it, that's been created, keeping the customer's needs in mind. And it's the other way around as well. We knew that there was this need because as Blue, we also have an agency kind of a mentality, right?
Yes.
So we know that this is a problem. So the problem and the solution kind of are interrelated in this case. So when I'm looking at going to market or launching it, I'm trying to understand where are those customers, what are their biggest pain points, right? So I'm encouraging our marketing team to also segment these customers into different use cases. Is it that there's a lot of e-commerce clients which are looking to increase awareness for their products? Is it that clients want their entire catalog to be on BMS and then create ads or campaigns tailored to those to that catalog? Is it about tracking how your existing marketing campaigns are converting? So there are so many different modules within BMS, each one with a specific use case and a specific audience.
Exactly.
So what we're trying to do is understand who those target audiences are and then create an integrated marketing plan around those. So how do we reach those guys, right? Is it through events? How do we increase awareness about the product through events? How do we make use of the existing Blue clientele? Because this is a captive, I don't want to say captive audience, but this is these are our future potential customers, right? How do we let them know about the benefits of BMS? Because we don't really have to look very far for clients and customers. They're already there. They're already using our core BMS Blue services in a way. So that for me is a great starting point, right? Other than that, I'm looking at using various other channels. So we have a lot of leads that have been collected over a period of time, right? So how am I really extracting that data and converting that into marketing activities? So we've got email campaigns lined up. We're going to do a little bit of social media, but that's primarily just for employer branding,
Feeding.
for like letting people know what we do. We're not really expecting miracles out of doing stuff on social media, but I'm seeing a lot of customization, a lot of personalization in our marketing, which for me, I'm looking at emails, I'm looking at doing activities with the sales team, on event activities, and primarily making use of the already existing lead pool and customer base that we do have. Because I think it's a lot easier to convert a client that is already spending with you versus
Yes.
trying to get a completely new client.
Exactly.
And because I and my team is very ROI heavy, we only want to put our time and effort in activities where we get the best bang for our buck. At the same time, we're open to experimenting as well. We're going to try out a bunch of different things because there are answers that we still don't have, right? So there are things that we have on our agenda for the next 3 to 6 months. We will just blindly experiment. Well, not blindly, but we will experiment, right?
Exactly.
And we'll see what the results are, and we'll take a call based on that.
And we have several different kind of actions to make. Like one of them that you just mentioned is an event. And then what you mentioned previously, like we have events going on in Brazil and in Europe.
Yep.
The communication in a general role and a general perspective should be aligned.
Yep.
Like we are one big and global company.
100%.
So the backstory of it should be one big backstory, but then you need to break it down into the local cultures in order to achieve the needs and to be able to speak about their pains in a local way, because
Absolutely.
people want to feel that they're being contacted directly. So I think that you have a lot of challenges to face ahead, right?
And opportunities, right? So I'm going to just flip it. If I start looking at a challenge as a challenge, it's going to bog me down and weigh me down. So I'm looking at it as something that empowers me.
Amazing.
And just to your point around the fact that we are dealing with different offices and different cultures, one thing that I did from the get-go is the mentality of thinking global but acting local, right? It's the same thing that we call it thinking glocally. And it's a mindset that I kind of developed at my time at Amazon. And I just take it because, as AI is evolving, as businesses are evolving, your customer is never restricted to just where you are operating. Your customer is anywhere right now. And the earlier we act on that by realizing that this is the case, the more our marketing efforts will be global. So that's exactly how we're approaching it.
And one other thing that you said is just about understanding the pain of potential users. How do you do that?
So we want to get into the mentality of analyzing our customers, and which is why we're doing surveys, right? We are doing focus groups, we're doing surveys. We want a better understanding of what our customers' pain points are. Where are their customers, right? What are their problems that they are trying to solve? Is it reach? Is it more conversion? Is it more consideration for their brand? Is it just pure visibility for their brand, right? So until and unless we get that understanding, it's going to be hard to translate that and suggest solutions. So we are planning a series of surveys to our existing client base, just to get a better understanding of them and really drill down. We're also doing a bunch of UX exercises. So one of them is, and this is again planned because I've just recently started, but it's a customer walkthrough. So you get now there are this is something we know internally that because our platform is so dense and because it has so many modules, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming for a new customer to just come in and just get lost in this
What do I
maze.
do in here?
Where do I start? So one of the things that we do at the start is like a walkthrough, right? Where you and there are agencies that support us in doing this, where you sit with a customer and you open your website, give them a mouse and a keyboard and say, okay, now let's see what you do. Try making a campaign. So the customer, while they are on the website, they're also talking. They're also telling you that, okay, I'm first going to click here, then I'm going to do this. So we're also understanding how a customer thinks, right? And then we have sophisticated tools like heat maps, which we can do even while a customer is at home. So that tells us where a customer's mouse was moving, where did they click, and then we can ask them questions. Why did you spend more time here? Was there something missing here? So that's how we also develop and improve the UX of our platform. So it's both ways. One is customer centric to understand what they want, and then once they are on our platform, what are some of the roadblocks that we can sort of help them improve?
Break it out. That's amazing. Wow. And if you allow me to break the subject into one personal question, that would be, what drew your attention when we had the position at Blue? So you were somewhere else, and then you heard about our position, and what got your attention? Like, I really want to be there.
That's cool. So I have, I had completed almost 10 years at Amazon and AWS in Luxembourg. And, sometimes in a quiet moment of reflection, you start asking yourself I start asking myself questions that if I continue down the same path, there's a lot of predictability. Because I've done 10 years at Amazon, AWS, in Luxembourg. And I know that if I stay even for 1 year extra, my life's pretty much going to be the same. There's not going to be much learning. There's not going to be pretty much any more new experiences. I've kind of gotten whatever I wanted to get out of that phase of my life in terms of travel, in terms of meeting people, in terms of work experiences, in terms of the place, Luxembourg. I mean, I love Luxembourg. It's very close to my heart. But then, sometimes you have to take that call that, hey, if I don't move out of this, I'm sinking too deep into my comfort zone. Okay. So when I was looking for opportunities, I was looking for a challenge. Now I'll use the word, literally a challenge. And when I came across this position, I saw a startup mindset. Number one, I saw a very, going through the cultural aspects, I saw a place which is very driven and passionate about what they're doing. I saw that this team and this business has grown really well. And more importantly, I also saw that what was on offer in terms of the work and the responsibility, that was something that I could tackle. And at the same time, it was also a stretch for me. So I didn't want to, again, get complacent and comfortable. But at the same time, it felt like, hey, if I go here, my imagination and my skill set is going to be challenged. And for me, plus, I mean, it doesn't hurt to be in Spain, So it all just kind of came together and it worked out. And I'm glad to be here.
And what do you think about our culture? Like, you already came across two of our offices, which is you're based in Marbella, Spain, and now you're in Brazil for 2 weeks. And you realize that we have we're merging the cultures, we're merging everything, kind of, but we're still separate countries, which is logically different cultures. How do you see that?
So, I think the biggest difference is primarily in the language, because in Europe, even though it's in Spain, and yes, you're around the Spanish culture pretty much, but we are tackling Europe as a region, and that's why we are approaching everything in English. When I come to Brazil, it's more Portuguese, right? Of course, because the market here is very linguistically specific.
Brazil is compared to Europe itself.
Exactly.
In terms of territory.
So the overall culture that I've assessed in the company is that it's very young, it's very vibrant, it's very fresh, and that kind of adds energy to the business. And I personally feel it. There's this level of excitement in the morning that you're working with a bunch of young people who are very driven to make a change happen. So that for me is really exciting. Apart from that, specifically, apart from languages, I think that maybe there is a difference in the kind and quality of clients that we have in these two regions, right? Because even though in terms of size, probably Brazil is at least 70% the size of the continent of Europe, right? Europe has really, it's like 20 whatever countries, small countries in that entire continent. So we are dealing with a lot of diversity there versus a lot of similarity within Brazil. So, like I said, as a company, I see undertones of youthfulness and energy, but at the same time, there are these differences which come in because of us being there versus and I think that is one of my key mandates is to create a culture which kind of comes out of the marketing team, which aligns a lot of our businesses globally together, right? So be it in terms of systems, processes, and the way we do things in the way our brand is portrayed to customers. So all of that is something that I'm trying to unify right now.
And this is something that we got from AWS whenever we started having more contact with them, and it was something that really brightened our eyes, because it's just as you mentioned before, wherever you go, you're gonna see people talking in the same way, like they're really living the culture, and this is really something that excites us. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. People are going to know about Blue. They know the Blue way of doing things, which is one of our quotes here in the Brazilian office, like the Blue way of doing things. So we really want it to be global, like having a good person that is going to take it out and make everyone understands where they are and what they are doing. It's under a Blue perspective.
The Blue umbrella.
Exactly. Amazing. And how can you tell us about when you see everything going and the way you're building your strategy to act on this? How is it going to be? I mean, do you need to hire people? You need to make more travels? What are your action plans from now on?
So the way I approach any kind of work is first to get a very strong understanding of what's already out there, right? To first, and which is why I spent a good deal of the first month just speaking to everybody and understanding what your role and place is in the company. What are some of the challenges that you are dealing with, and how best can I support you, or our team can support you in the process, right? So I think I'd say I have a reasonably strong understanding of each team's goals and mandates, and at the same time I have something on my plate which I know that I have to work on, which is like unifying the business, creating that culture, putting those brand assets in place across all touch points, so that there's no variability. It's pretty standard everywhere. So the things that we are doing now is, I obviously have a marketing team in Europe and a marketing team here in South America. And we're trying to understand, we've created marketing calendars for the rest of the year. And we've seen, based on previous year's experience, we know that there are some specific things which are going to happen at specific periods of time, like events, right? We can't change the dates of those events. So we need a certain amount of lead time to practice or, prepare for those events in a way. But then there are certain activities which are completely dependent on us, right? So we know for a matter of fact that we need to refresh our brand assets. We need a new website. We need to completely rebrand. Well, not rebrand, but repurpose the existing brand in a way which is more, aligned with our ethos, with our culture. So my first task is to really build out the website, build out a lot of build out the brand assets, and then activate and sort of clean up the current channels that we have, and focus on the highest ROI channels, right? Where I think my initial, and I would say my first KPI that I would be looking at as a team, and I would encourage the entire organization to come together, is how can we convert more leads to customers? Because we have a very strong hold on existing clients. There's a lot of brand equity that we have. There's a lot of goodwill that has been created over the last 6 to 7 years. I think that there is a lot of room on the table to really get new clients on board across different industries, right? So be it e-commerce, be it travel, be it iGaming, be it any other industry, and not just industries, but I'm also looking at countries now, right? I feel that there is a lot of growth potential in the Middle East. In India, where digital is absolutely exploding. You look at any tool for that matter. You look at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. The highest number of users and the highest number of engaged users are coming in from that part of the world, right? We, on the other hand, are very Western hemisphere focused as a business because we evolved out of here. So the question that I ask myself is, in the medium term, can we expand our footprint to these markets, right? So yes, the core focus is still going to be to grow the business in this side of the world across verticals by expanding channels, but at the same time not ignoring the other part of the world where there is a lot of potential.
And when we speak about technologies, like there's a lot of platforms out there, and I think that the same way I can tell that this is a challenge, it's also a very big opportunity. Taking your quote,
Yeah.
so this is one of the things. We have a lot of platforms, we have a lot of competitors, and then when it comes to BMS mainly, we have like several different products, and we don't have a competitor for BMS itself, given the size of BMS. So how do you see that in terms of opportunities? Like, as we just mentioned, we have some differentials like saving time, everything gathered together in one big platform, even though we have other competitors, which are companies that most of our leads are used to use. So we are something new coming
Yeah.
out to the market. How do you see that?
So there's an interesting quote that comes to mind. I'm not sure if I can articulate it correctly, but it says that um, if you cannot be something to someone, you will end up being nothing to no one.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it basically
does.
means that you have to have a certain value proposition that resonates with a certain target audience. It's the typical marketing terminology of STP, right? Segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So when I look at BMS and I look at this as a fairly innovative and new kind of a service in the marketplace, which I don't think exists as one combo product in the marketplace right now. I'm looking at what are the different kinds of customers that would be interested in making use of this product, right? So we're going to divide our existing customer base and our lead pool into these different segments, and then create marketing material that targets each of their needs, their desires, their problems. So like I said, initially it could be around brands that are looking purely for branding or awareness, or more bottom of the funnel kind of activities, or simply just having a space to store your marketing collateral, or maybe just being connected to an agency kind of a model. Small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses. So there are so many different use cases, and I think just to get to that point, we start by creating an understanding of who our audiences are. So like I said, the first thing that we will do is ensure that we understand who this audience is, who are we targeting, and then create product positioning accordingly, right? So we'll do a lot of landing pages, we'll do a lot of SEO activities tailored to specific use cases, right? Participate in relevant events where people are looking for specific kinds of solutions, and then bridge that gap by only focusing on those use cases. So there's a lot in terms of, because BMS is so dense. I don't want to call it complex. I'm going to call it dense, because there's a lot in it. The potential is it's limited only by your imagination. Like
Yes.
the sky is the limit. So I feel that it's also about us internally identifying that huge potential and creating small chunks which can then be served to people in a bite-sized way, rather than flooding them with a big piece and then they're not knowing how to eat this thing. So that's the approach.
One thing that I could realize by you speaking, which is something that really gets me happy, it's you really have that AWS customer-centric feeling, and you apply that in an implicit way by speaking about BMS and speaking about Blue, because what you want to do is take everything that we have and build it in a tailor-made to customers. So identifying the niche that each of the potential leads we have out there are looking for, and build something directly to them and make the communication detailed to them as well. So you will fully understand their pain, and then you're going to cover that pain with something that really make their life easier. So I really got happy from everything that you just shared with us. One thing that I want to make is, do you want to make a question?
Oh, wow. So based on everything that I've shared with you so far, right? And obviously because you're one of the founders of the company over a period of time, what is, and maybe I'll just flip that question, right? What is your vision for BMS? And, how do you see BMS go to market?
my main vision for BMS is that I think it's the greatest platform that ever had, and it's not because we built it, but it's because we made it to be that. And I really want it to be it. And this is the biggest challenge / opportunity.
Yeah.
So we build it, and we have certain difficulties on how to get it to market.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why we have very good people like you and your team to make it happen, because we have like a techie background, and most of what we have done on the platform so far is on a techie perspective.
Exactly.
So we needed help from outside with people that have this kind of experience to gather all of the information that we have on the platform and everything that we build it to be, and build a communication that would be easy for potential customers to understand. So when you flip out the question, I just want you and your team to take this platform, the biggest ever platform that was built, and make it and help us make it be the greatest platform ever.
We're on our way.
That's it.
We're on our way.
I don't know if I gave an answer that you were expecting.
It just adds fuel, right? It adds fuel to the same vision.
Exactly, because this is what I think the most. We have a very big thing on our hands, and it's very interesting to be part of it, because we started at Blue with just one service being pulled out, like the retargeting one, and then we want to make it bigger, and then BMS came out with several other products, services, and needs. So we just want to make everything get it together and make people to use it, and make people to realize that they can build their needs, they can build whatever they want inside this platform, and this platform is going to help them out on growing in life, growing their businesses. So it's something that we really want to pull out, 100%. And of course that we need per people that have that kind of vision to take everything that we've done so far and make it happen.
100%.
Amazing. So if I would make like one last question, which is not a question, it's more like a request, that would be, can you give us, for the viewers, one advice that changed your life? It could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be an advice someone gave you at some certain point of your life that really changed your life, or something that you want to make your own standard quote.
I think I'll use this opportunity. I'll use this opportunity to say not one but two things. One of the earliest things that I remember is when I was leaving India for my MBA. Right, when I was just literally saying goodbye, I was at the airport, and I remember my dad gave me a cutout from a newspaper, and I'm sure I have it somewhere. But it was a quote that he got from a newspaper, and it said, "Do not. Why do you try so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out?" And I think at that point, maybe I did not realize the significance of what that quote meant. But over a period of time, I just understood what he was trying to tell me. And he tells me this to the same thing to this date. He's like, there is, the world will try to put you in a box. It'll try to standardize everything about you. But the only way you can leave your mark or do things that come from your heart is by being different, is by, following your own calling. Like, just listen to your heart and just go ahead and do it. And for me, this has been one of my life's biggest takeaways, because it stuck with me. I would probably almost get it tattooed. And I think the second thing that I personally learned through this journey is that, and this is slightly philosophical, but it's just that we live only once, right? I was probably speaking to somebody. I said there is a 1 in 4 trillion chance that you would be you and I would be I on this planet Earth, right? So the very fact that it has happened, that we've gotten this consciousness, right, means a lot. It's remarkable that we're able to live life in this way. And I think we are very fortunate that, we live very good and comfortable lives. There's a vast world out there which does not have that. So I just take that from a very empathetic perspective, that it's a very great gift that we have, and we're not going to get it again. So make it count. Live with no regrets. I think that's one of my key things that I've learned over time. Don't live with regrets. Don't hurt, and chase what you're after, because this is the only chance you've got.
Which is totally aligned with the first point you shared. Like, you need to stand out. In order to stand out, you need to be able to do things and really live your life, right?
That's it.
You need to be the protagonist of your life, which is something that it's funny to say, because it's something that I share a lot within the company. Like, whenever people ask me for advices and stuff, I really say that, like, you need to be the protagonist of your own story. I mean, don't live others' story by others. Live your story. Write down your story and make yourself stand out there.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I really like that.
It's because the world will try and judge you based on a single metric.
Exactly.
Which is very common, right? It could be, how successful are you? How much money do you have, or whatever. But those are society-driven metrics. At the end of the day, as long as you are living life on your own terms, true to yourself, and you're defining success for yourself, not for what society is asking of you, that this is successful. No, this is what matters most to me. This is how I'm going to live my life, and this is how I'm going to assess what my life is like. And if you're happy with that, I don't think anything else matters.
Amazing. I'm very much appreciated for everything that you shared with us.
My pleasure.
And I think that it would be all for this episode. And the last question I would make is that do you have like any other subject or things that you would like to share with us that I haven't asked it?
I think for me, it's like I said, it's just been 2 months that I've come here, and already there is so much activity happening, and I'm eternally grateful to the entire company for being so welcoming and so warm, and so helpful in terms of getting that understanding of the various moving parts of this business. There are gaps, or there are things that maybe I still am on the learning curve, so to speak.
Sure.
So based on, and again, this is me being cheeky, I'm transferring the question back to you. Based on our conversation now, is there anything that you feel that I'm not touching upon as leading marketing? Based on because of course, when you all started the business, you had a certain vision and a certain perspective, right? I come in with a fresh pair of eyes, with a completely fresh perspective. Do you feel that there is an alignment in us? And if there isn't, what are some of the things that I should also be looking at?
I wouldn't say that there's another thing that you should be looking at right now, because you just got here, and one very important thing to mention is that if you're here and if you're inside the company, you really fit in. We take a lot of care about who we bring in to the boat. So if you're here, we really appreciate that you're here, and we really trust you to drive us on a good way. So this is a very important thing for you to have in mind. And it is totally aligned with what we thought when we founded the company, because just as I said, we made it out back then, and we brought it out to the point that we are today.
Yep.
And one thing that we really understood on the journey is that in order to grow, in order to be bigger, you need help.
Yeah.
I mean, we were capable of bringing a company until this point. In order to go bigger and go bigger in the best way possible, we need good people to support us on that matter. And this is the reason why you're here. So it's totally aligned with our expectations, and it's totally aligned with what we want us to build together.
Super.
So it's something that we never really thought about having a CMO. This is the first time we have your position, your role in the company. So for us, we're understanding and we're learning together. So you're learning about the culture, you're learning about the company, the product, and everything. But you're building and you're bringing your background story, all of your experience in order to build good things.
Absolutely.
So we are relying on you to get what we brought so far and build what's going to be the next steps. So I think that everything is aligned. At least on my perspective. I'm just one of 4.
Yeah. No, let's do it.
But I think that the others think the same, right?
Let's do it.
Amazing. So I really want to thank you for sharing everything that you shared today, about your personal life, about your professional life, goals, challenges, opportunities, and everything. I really appreciate it. It was very satisfying to talk to you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. I mean, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
That's amazing. I want you to have one special gift, which is something that we always give to our guests.
Thank you.
I
very
think
kind.
that only 2 people are going to have that on your office. So it's a really special thing. It's not written on your language. It's on Portuguese.
Perfect.
So you're going
I
to
love it.
remember us for the rest of your life.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. Something which is very global. You know, it's global yet it's local.
Exactly. It's
On point.
Glocal, as you
Yes,
said.
it's global. I'm gonna open it outside the camera.
Sure. So that's it. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
And for you guys that followed us until the end of this episode, I think that we shared a lot of good things here, and not only about professional things, but he also shared lots of things about you writing down your own story and pursuing your dreams, like understand yourself, build yourself, and stand out for yourself. So I think that is one of the greatest things that could come out of this episode. Really do that on your life. And I really appreciate Varun to share that with us, because we have a case of success in here. So it's not something that is impossible. We have one person that make it possible in his life, and you can do the same in yours. So that's it. I expect that you liked what we have shared. I thank you again, Varun. Also, Pedro. And that's it, guys. See you on the next episode.
Thank you.